thinking about selling your home and you've been checking Zillow for your home's value, you need to hear this. Zillow's own CEO sold his house for 40% less than what the Zestimate said his home was worth. Zillow itself lost $881 million when they decided to trust their algorithm to purchase homes. I'm going to break down the numbers behind the Zestimates. The Zestimate said the home was worth $1.75 million. That's a $700,000 difference, over 40% difference. If you're thinking about selling your home and you've been checking Zillow for your home's value, you need to hear this. That Zestimate could be costing you thousands of dollars. Here's what most people don't know. Zillow's own CEO sold his house for 40% less than what the Zestimate said his home was worth. Zillow itself lost $881 million when they decided to trust their algorithm to purchase homes. So if the people who created the algorithm don't trust the algorithm with their own money, why should you? I'm going to break down the numbers behind the Zestimates, what Zillow says and admits on their own website, and why it's particularly important for sellers in the Southwest Florida market. Let's start with what Zillow actually admits on their website. They admit that there's a median error rate of 1.83% for homes that are currently on the market. And for off-market homes, it jumps to over 7%. Well, let's just discuss real quick what the difference is between the on-market homes and the homes that are not on the market. The homes that are on the market are generally priced by the real estate agent who has the listing. However, for the homes that are off market, those homes are generally priced on the Zestimate by Zillow's own algorithms. Now, the word median is doing a lot of work in this particular case because it means that more than half of these homes are wrong by more than 7%. And the kicker? Zillow itself says that 1 in 5 homes are off by more than 20%. Now, just using the 7% error, if you have a $500,000 house, that's a $35,000 error. $750,000, $50,000. If you have over $1 million home, you're looking at a $70,000 potential error in the Zestimate. Now let's talk about Spencer Rascoff's own experience with Zestimate. The CEO of Zillow, the guy running the entire show, well, back in 2016, he sold his Seattle home for a little over $1 million. The very next day, the Zestimate said the home was worth $1.75 million. That's a $700,000 difference, over 40% difference. When Rascoff was asked about this, he reportedly had said, well, that's why we call it a Zestimate and not a appraisal. And there's a sequel to that story because in 2020, Rascoff decided to sell his Brentwood home in LA for $24 million, which is $7 million more than the Zestimate, which said his home was worth $16 million. But here's the really interesting part. In 2018, Zillow started a program where they thought they were going to go out and purchase homes based on the Zestimate. They figured they had the best data and they would be able to go out and just purchase these homes and make money. However, just 3 years later, they had to shut the entire program down. They lost $881 million, had to lay off 2,000 people, and approximately 25% of their workforce. The CEO at the time, Rich Barton, had said that the unpredictability of pricing homes in real estate far exceeds what they thought. Think about that. Zillow, one of the largest companies in real estate with all of its data, resources, software engineers, couldn't make the algorithm work for them when they put their own money behind it. They lost nearly $1 billion. So if Zillow itself can't trust its algorithm, why should you trust it with one of the largest assets you own? Here's the fundamental problem. Zillow's algorithm has never been inside your home. It doesn't know you just completed a $50,000 renovation on your kitchen, or upgraded your HVAC system, or put a new roof on. And on the flip side, it doesn't know that the roof is shot, there's water damage, or that you have a carpet from 1985. It also doesn't understand local market nuances. It doesn't understand that one neighborhood compared to another with the same exact home can have a $100,000 difference in housing prices. It doesn't understand HOA issues, special assessments, litigation. It doesn't take all of that stuff into account. It's just an algorithm. Zillow looks at square footage, beds and baths, and recent sales. That's it, and that's not enough. Now, where the Zestimate gets even trickier for Florida is it can't take into account certain aspects such as insurance. Insurance costs in Florida are some of the top in the nation. The average insurance rate for a Floridian is $5,700 a year. It also doesn't take into account that there's a law in place that if your roof is 15 years or more, the insurance company can require you to have an inspection on that roof to show that there's still 5 more years of life left in that roof to even get insurance. So buyers are becoming more savvy and they're writing their offers based on this information. Zillow can't take that into account. Flood zones. FEMA is updating their maps, and there are thousands of homes that weren't in flood zones before that are now in flood zones. This is increasing your costs in flood insurance. Zillow's not taking that into account, but buyers are. Hurricane and storm impact, like we had just discussed about with the flood zones. Look at what happened after Ian in some of these areas in Southwest Florida. Home prices dropped significantly. The reason for that is these algorithms can't take into account buyer sentiment. So if you can't rely on Zillow to give you a price, what should you do? Well, the first thing you need to do is get a comparative market analysis from a real estate agent that knows the market. A good CMA isn't just pulling comps. It's analyzing what actually sold, adjusting for the differences between those homes, understanding the neighborhoods, and knowing what buyers are specifically looking for. Secondly, consider getting an appraisal. Banks require an appraisal during the loan process for a reason. It's $400 to $800 that could save you significant amounts of money and time on market. The Zestimate is fine for curiosity and maybe some entertainment, but don't trust your largest asset to an algorithm where the company itself doesn't even trust it and lost almost $1 billion trying to use it to make money. Here's the bottom line. The Zestimate is a starting point, not a pricing strategy. Their own CEO learned this the hard way when he sold his property for 40% less than what the Zestimate said. The company learned it the hard way when they lost $881 million and had to lay off 25% of their workforce. Your home is probably your biggest asset. Don't price it with a guess. Price it with somebody that knows your market. If you're in the Southwest Florida market and you want to know what your property is actually worth, not a Zestimate, based on actual data and analysis, that's what we specialize in. No fluff, just the information you need to get the most from your largest asset. If you'd like more information, give us a call or a text. If you're interested in more Southwest Florida market analysis and market data, subscribe below. Thanks for watching.